Hey, this is Ted from Ted's Takes on Wrestling, and I'm going to talk about the tag team division and a new era in AEW in tag teams. So we got the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, the new tag team champions, and I'm going to explain to you why they've got to get this right. Okay, so first off, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, like this video, and all that good stuff. So when we talk about the tag team division of AEW, you go back to the very beginning. You had mostly athletic, high-flying type tag teams like the Young Bucks and Private Party, who were just champions. The Acclaimed have a championship run. You had at the very beginning the first champions, SCU, okay, Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky. Yes, and Christopher Daniels. So they were a group there. You even had the Jurassic Express. Even though they had Luchasaurus, a big guy, he was still very athletic, and even, Jungle Boy. So you had all these tag teams, and then even Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page were champs there at one time. Very athletic. And you had all that. Okay, and they were bringing tag team wrestling back because the WWE had dropped the ball on tag teams for almost 2 decades at least, and but now it's time for something different. So now we've got the Hurt Syndicate as the champions. So I think back to the golden era of tag team wrestling back in the 80s and the early 90s, and you had the Road Warriors, you had Demolition, you had the Powers of Pain, okay? You had these even Nikita Koloff and Ivan Koloff. And then, you sometimes would have Crusher Khrushchev in there. So you had these big, beefy tag teams that would just go in and destroy each other and there wasn't no high flying. They're just beating each other to death. Then you mix in a little bit of the Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, and the Rockers. And you had a really exciting tag team division and exciting tag team matches. So that's why now AEW needs to go back over that 80s model like the Road Warriors and Demolition. And they've got the setup for it. Like I said, the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. You've also got the Murder Machines, Brian Cage and Lance Archer. You've got the Gates of Agony, okay? And then finally, my favorite new tag team, which, they've already been in a stable, but now it looks like they're going to be doing stuff primarily together, is Brody King and Buddy Matthews. The Hounds of Hell. So imagine those different combinations going against the Hurt Syndicate. To me, the one that should probably defeat them and eventually take the belt, but after a long time and a good long feud, would be the Hounds of Hell with Brody King and Buddy Matthews. So I love this new direction of the tag team division in AEW. You got these big, beefy, meaty tag team guys that are just going to beat each other to death. And let's face it, AEW is supposed to be the alternative. They're supposed to be the ones who do things different than WWE. And yes, they've lost their way some over the year, but they're trying to get this back. And I think this is a great thing in the tag team division. Now, with all these big beefy guys fighting each other, that brings me also back to the 80s. There was one tag team that did great against both the high flyers of smaller athletic teams like the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, and even the Rockers in WWF, but also had success against the power guys like the Road Warriors and Demolition. And that was Tully and Arnett. They could fight against the big guys, they could fight against the smaller, quick guys, and they would give you a great match either way. And who is the equivalent in today's era? FTR. That's right. I love FTR if you've watched this channel for a long time. So again, those guys can step in again in this tag division and fight the bigger guys. But then, they can fight the smaller guys. So I think it's an exciting time that we can say, okay, finally we can get the tag division in AEW, and it all starts with the Hurt Syndicate. So AEW must book this right, and I think it can really, have some positive gains on the tag division in AEW. Until next time, don't make mistakes. Trust Ed's Takes.